real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
That's good. That's good.
See how off-brand Stanley's out today.
Yeah, I call it the Chandler. Or Michael Scott, if you want to call it.
Michael Scott.
Yeah. Feels good to be back. So that we be rocking out to the music. Sometimes I just want to break the silence. Let's just talk.
You're ready.
Let people know we're here. We're getting started. We're getting settled in.
It's kind of funny because I actually like the phone better because I can control how
The volume, like
here it just goes from high to low.
Fade out.
Ain't no fade out.
DJ.
Yeah.
Drop that.
Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris A. Pender Sr.
Chris Jr. After a brief hiatus, I'm back.
Long.
But yeah, as always, here to empower, inspire, uplift the community, and yeah.
And Devin Pender here to say, like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact.
Oh, he got bass in his voice.
Energy.
Yeah.
Look at
He
that.
missed you, man. He was saying your part while you were
I
gone.
know, so it's had to stretch you.
Messing me up a little bit.
Devin has a new title. I was telling your mom, Devin's our research person.
Yo, I love it. I've been paying attention and watching.
Right there, man.
And another element to the
Yeah.
show, I feel like made me want to come prepared and have some things to talk about.
I feel balanced now. I think balance is back, man.
Yeah.
Balance is
I
back.
feel like the dude from the Joe Rogan podcast.
Jamie, pull that balance is back, man.
Keep quick steps.
So let's get into this. What we will talk about tonight is I find an interesting topic because I think we have three distinct, different tastes here. So I think I discovered that when we were talking about music last week. We're going to talk about black entertainment. So it's kind of like a multi-layered discussion we can have.
It is.
So one, well, obviously it's changed, but do we think it's changed for the better or worse? How we think it changed, man, and is there some kind of synergy? Is there some kind of connection between, as it has evolved?
I'm really excited about this topic and conversation, being that it's probably a world that I aspire to be in and working towards at the moment, getting into the entertainment industry and telling stories. But certainly over the years, I think it's been a drastic change. I think initially it was probably more a form of expression, like it was an outlet when you think about kind of music and what we were doing with it at the time, like early years. But then it began to grow and popularize, and I think it started to really form into entertainment. Like, oh, there's money in this. Like, we can get people to kind of follow or rally behind it. And then I think even beyond the money, they started to see this stuff is polarizing. Like, you can almost control people with the music. And then along came the movies, and you got the initial Birth of a Nation, and how that was a movie that depicted black people in such a negative light and had an impact still probably to this day. Some of them stereotypes still kind of being spewed out there. So I think at a point in time it became it's just kind of like a form of expression. Still some of the elements of that today, but I think also there's a little bit of control behind it, and certainly messaging that gets embedded in some of the stories or the music, and I think it's kind of intentional, some of the things that they put in front of us from time to time, because media and entertainment has such a strong influence on us. I don't even think people really realize kind of the power that it has on us, just kind of seeing things and hearing things repeatedly just kind of embeds or imparts its way into your day-to-day life. So I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of ways that I can kind of tackle and talk about this topic, but I think it's changed. Again, I'm still a fan of some of the things that are out there, but I feel like at times I'm definitely more aware than anything, of just kind of
3 words.
What's going on?
We've sold out.
You think so?
Yeah, I think.
I was going to get on Tyler Perry. I was going to say it for later, but man, I can't help it.
We had a similar conversation last week about music and how money was kind of the driving force, and I think we've seen the same thing in entertainment. Because I go back to movies when you had movies like Uptown Saturday Night with Sidney Poitier, Bill Cosby, which were like black films. All the people like John Amos, they got a bunch of stars, man, in the movie. You had movies like Shaft, who people could relate to. You had all these movies, and Cleopatra Jones before your time, but you had these movies, man, that kind of empowered black people. Shaft, you got this strong black man, in a time where it just wasn't on, but he was beating the system. He was a man, and he wasn't a crook or a joke. He was a man. And then you had Cleopatra Jones, which was Pam Grier, this very attractive black lady, man, who in a time when women were second-class citizens, was like a superhero, so to speak. If you look at Saturday Night, the Saturday Night series, it was based on, back in the days of black people in Harlem, the suits and the juke joints and things like that. And, they even had their own little mafia, the black, all kind of stuff going on. So it was based on that time. And it was predominantly black stars in all those movies. I think now it's more of, I'm not even gonna call it entertainment. I think now it's more of advertisement, because most movies set up is set up for the sequel. It's set up to advertise something. So it's changed. I think it's changed, and there's a lot more negative stuff out there. You mentioned Birth of a Nation, which was a remake of 2000, my favorite movie, the Nat Turner story. And I think movies even like that told stories that wasn't just about kill, shoot, stab. It was a story behind it. I think you don't see that now, and I think you don't see it because this generation, they don't want to see that, man. They want to see Freddy Krueger and Friday the 13th, and they like the horror movies, people get murdered. They like the reality show type movies. That's what sells. And I think we talked about it before. For somebody just breaking in, like John Singleton when he came out, he did Boys in the Hood. It was different because he had Spike Lee come before him. Spike Lee took a chance because his movies were different. I think until somebody else gets that same courage now, it's going to stay the same, because somebody has to say, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to do something different and not remake what everybody else is remaking or do what everybody else is doing. And I think when it comes to entertainment, because it costs so much to do it, that's a huge risk.
I think the kind of just thinking about it as a whole and today, people probably go in there with good intentions. They probably want to do some of those things. They start out like that. And again, I'm probably even thinking about Tyler Perry, because he had a story or a message kind of when he got started. And then now look at him. It's like, what is this man doing?
And I think Tyler Perry is a perfect example. Because Tyler Perry got started by doing plays. When I first found out about Tyler Perry, he was doing plays. And they were plays.
He was smart, good running the movies.
But he was smart because there were video plays. So you could see the video tape. So and I did. I enjoyed his early movies because it was a message in it.
Right.
And then but it's the same thing. And then it became, how do I sell?
The shop.
How do I get my share of it? Now, to his credit, he hires a lot of black entertainers. Like he just paid I'm making good, more money he's ever made before. So he's doing some good stuff.
But it was to make a terrible movie.
Well, see, but if you look at all his TV series, it's the stuff he has with Sisters,
it's outlandish.
The Pains, all the stuff he has on TV is like from one extreme to the next.
Yeah.
It's either goofy as all heck, or it's like depicted as we depicted in this sorry light.
I know.
But it sells. That's why he's a billionaire.
Yeah, but I mean, but I think, like, where's the line? Are they expensive? What?
But you got to go back to almost Bill Cosby till you get
have some scruples.
To somebody who draws a line in the sand and says, I just won't do that. Even Denzel to a certain extent. He did Training Day, but to a certain extent, there's certain things he just won't do. You're not going to see him in a band with a dude or it's some crazy. You're just not going to see that.
Because it's like this stuff matters, like when you're putting it out there, it's like, I think he just kind of is strictly on, I just want to entertain.
But
I want to shop. This
more?
would be crazy.
But what matters more?
But it's like people look at that stuff and they feed into that or believe in that. Or
but that's why you do it.
Just like, man.
But that's why you do it, because you do it because people, like I had people says, man, I want you to move in and stuff. They don't care. You paid.
Yeah.
If 1 million people go to the movies and come back and say so, they made their money. Yeah, everybody wants to make a movie and make an award, but they want to make money.
And ultimately, that's why we getting what we get, Because it's about making money.
But it's the same thing. It's the same thing we said 11 last week talking about music. I let that one go. I think now the movies, it used to be where the movies would imitate things that happen, and they would take it and whether it was Harlem Renaissance, and I'm dating myself, whether it was the action stage, the '70s stage, Superfly, everybody dressed like those movies, because that's what was happening to black neighborhoods at that time. Then you fast forward, now it's like they take the worst of the worst. They take the drug movies and all. That's the kind of movies they make. Look at Power. And I'm not knocking Power. So maybe
I was about to say,
but the series, there was nothing really not positive about it. But why? But people like that stuff. People, they tune into. They don't tune into it. They're not going to tune in to watch the guy who owns. Like, I don't know how well a Cosby Show would do today.
That's just a quick, easy formula, and I feel like maybe
it works.
And I think that's why some people kind of just fall into behind. It's like, oh, I know this is going to work. I can make a Snowfall. I can make a Top Boy. Yeah, I can make a Power. Book of Go content. People love those things. All of them very similar, So it's like, I think it's just an easy route for people to go to. But think about the shows and movies and stuff that's getting awards. They like actually telling stories. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they have a deeper meaning. It's less about they able to entertain you and kind of keep you engaged.
But you said something that's key though. The powers to be, because there's movies who should win who don't win.
Yeah.
And there's movies who should not win, they do win, because you still have people judging, and when you judge on your taste. You're not sitting there thinking, well, a whole population likes this movie, I don't like it. I do like it. So it is a matter of power. But I also think, again, it takes courage to change the content. It takes courage for somebody to come out and say, you know what, I'm gonna change it. I'm going to try to duplicate the Cosby, because I think, or a different world, those positive shows. Instead of like, and
I mean, I think it's a way to do it, but it's just ways to make it more relevant and modern.
Yeah, but where's it?
Still hold the value.
But where is the line? Because if you go back and look at Fresh Prince, the movie, the latest was nothing like the series. It was nothing like it was the only thing that was like the series when he got in the fight, and the rest of it was like way out there, man.
It's 2024.
Yeah, I get it.
If Carlton was, I think that's how Carlton would be now.
No, but see, I think that's. But I still think they make something fresh. Then don't remake a movie, because that's what killed it for a lot of people my generation. Because you took something that was considered an icon and you changed it drastically. It wasn't no subtle change. That's like all of a sudden if Mickey Mouse now turns into Mickey the Rat.
I think the biggest even with that is like, comedy obviously is drama. Like, I just think people find a way to make those moments funny. Like, that's a depressing story for him to have to kind of move because of fight from home and go live with his uncle. And I think the new Fresh Prince just took the comedy out of it and was like, what would happen if this is no laughing matter. This is what it is because you had to leave home. I think that's really like kind of.
But what I'm saying is, but then make something different. I'm not knocking about making it relevant, but that's like if somebody remade the Cosbys and they just but it's not the same show.
But give it 15 years. That 70s show, they just remade it. That 90s show. Like, it's just because it's an easy way for them to make money with the familiarity of it. I understand what you're saying about.
I'm not against remakes, but I'm not against. I just think some of them go too far. When you lose the integrity of the show. Then make something totally different. That's all I'm saying. And the fact that everything's a remake now, there's no originality. That everything is a remake now. But I also think that's why certain shows they don't try to duplicate. And I know Cosby probably got his rights locked up. But there's certain shows that I never watched the Good Times. I never watched it. I heard that was junk. I heard Good Times became junk.
It was a cartoon.
Oh, it was a cartoon?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was a show.
They remade it into a cartoon. Seth MacFarlane, Seth Curry.
Just like the PJs.
Producers.
Everybody.
It is PJs and Family Guy.
Yeah. So, but see that's kind of to me,
JB Smooth's dad.
I'm not. That's to me. That's not entertainment. And this is where I think the generational changes come in, because I'm tired of every black father being a buffoon. That to me, I hate that. Or is the absentee dad? He ain't there. Those things for me are
every father's a buffoon. Period.
And they do that, and then you do it enough that now when people talk about things, that's the way they see us.
I think that's like the real big difference between now and back then. Whereas back then there was a lot of diverse ways that we could all act. Dr. Huxtable, the Cosbys, Uncle Phil was a lawyer. You had
and they were married.
Winslow from was it Family Matters?
Yeah,
he was an
and they
officer.
were married,
all different, styles of leadership. At the same time, they all cared. It's very diverse.
But the question comes now: would those shows as they are sell to them? And I think that's the issue where we are. That I think there are people, to your point, who want to make those shows, but will that show sell today? Because it's not reality TV. Like if we were to make a show like based on our family, would that sell? I don't know, because they want to see people go to jail. They want to see mom and dad fighting. They want to see the family break up, because that's the stuff that fits the storyline in America. That's what especially people who don't look like us. That's what they expect from us.
Yeah.
And so that sells, and not only does it sell, but it sells across culture. Which is I think now movies like Uptown Saturday Night and all those movies, it's hard to get a crossover movie. It's hard. Like Rocky was a crossover movie. Everybody went to saw Rocky. Everybody loved Rocky. And dude ain't the real character. He's not even the real dude. He got a statue. That's all. Yeah, but that's what he did. He captured the essence of the city. And because he did that, white, black, or everybody wanted to see the movie, and it become not just a Philly icon, but a national icon. He was smart enough to shoot scenes in the city that down on Kristen Street, the Italian Market.
Yeah.
Pat's Steakhouse. He made sure he had iconic scenes, the art museum. So he was very smart and strategic for how he did it.
But that just goes to show how polarizing entertainment is,
Yeah, I agree, because they still play the song. They still play the song. Years later, they still play the song, man. And it's not a great song. Come on. I mean,
people literally come from out of town to go visit and see this statue, and like it blows my mind. Like, he's not even a real person. Real character.
I saw the statue for the first time about 4 years ago, and the only reason I went to see it was because a friend of mine came in from Michigan, and he wanted to take a picture by the Rocky statue. And I'm like, he says, "Oh, how many times you been down there?" Never. Like I still call the art museum the art museum. I don't say the Rocky steps. I refuse to say the Rocky steps. It's the art museum.
So I got a question. I know we're talking about how black entertainment has changed over time. Like, how do we think those changes have impacted us?
Drastically.
Like, how do we see it? Like, where do you see those changes?
I think
impacting us the most. And what is it? The music? Is it the media?
I know more people that see themselves as ghosts than like.
It's a combination. I had a situation today. 2 middle school kids. Who, the police had to be involved. The school police had to be involved.
Middle school kids?
The school district, because they threatened to bring a gun.
Oh my God.
So hold up. And it got so bad where one kid, he told the kid, "I'm gonna come to your house and shoot you." Now let me tell you how TV plays a role in this. Now, he had to get his off of TV. The kid's mom took a picture of her son in the water plug, and the other kid who said it leaned up against the wall, smiling, nodding his head like, "I got you now." Middle school kids. So they see this stuff on TV and they think that's life. Yeah. They think that's life. And this you talk about a fourth grader going to the fifth and the fifth going to the sixth.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I think we don't understand the impact it has. Or these young girls who mimic what they see on TV because they think that's okay. And then you got like Tyler Perry.
Is that a matter of
people glamorize that stuff?
Getting exposed to that early, like letting people.
Definitely.
I'm sure there was things out when you were a kid that probably wasn't appropriate or of ease to hear or listen to that.
No, I had to sneak, first of all, because there's no way it was coming. My father was very strict, and the amount of time we, just like y'all, what you looked at, we monitored.
Yeah, that's
now, when you went somewhere else, we couldn't do it. But now, now it's more. Now they're being bombarded with it because now
everybody got a phone.
You playing the video games, you playing Grand Theft Auto and all those video games. Now you listen to the music.
You gotta check.
Now you look at it on TV. Yeah, it's becoming, and then social media. They can be constantly bombarded with a message. It's like advertising. If you hear something over and over and over and over again, subliminally is in your head. Mm-hmm. It's like if I smell a certain smell, I think of my mom. Mm-hmm. My mom's been going for a few years now. Same thing. There's certain things I do when I think of my dad. I don't do it on purpose. It's the same thing. A song will come on, you think of it. Like I was playing around yesterday, and Marvin Gaye came on Sexual Healing. right away. You start thinking about, man, I remember when this song was a song. Or I was hanging out with some of my friends, acquaintances, whatever you want to call them, from the class reunion. They were playing a lot of songs from the 70s, because that's when we graduated 79, from that era. And it's like, man, it's bringing back memories. So when you constantly put something in your head, eventually it begins to come out. Tomorrow I'm doing a Bible study. I'll be talking about image. And I think nobody's watching this is going to be there. So we talk about image. So we talk about image. And I think the thing with image is we are so convinced and so tied into image being an outwardly thing. But what we forget is what we put in ourselves that shape our outward image. That's the problem. That's the problem. So people look at this stuff, man, and it's shaping them. I'm cursing because all you do is listen to curse music. Today I was fourth and fifth. Come on, dude, y'all. When I was that age, first of all, my mom would have kicked my butt off.
I still can't get past. You said this fourth or fifth grader posted out something like
fourth going to five and five going to six. And in the sixth grade, just standing there, and they did about our size. So you can see them in the back of the picture standing like leaning up against the wall.
Right, that's kind of big.
Smiling like this. Well, they big. They are big now. See, you remember the time you've been to school? They are big now. It's not. Those days are gone. I laugh and joke because when I was in high school, there was very few girls who were actually well endowed. Now you're talking about middle school kids, so it's changed, and that's changed. The sexuality has changed, just the way you what they look at, and then you got parents who don't monitor it. So if you go back to entertainment is very powerful, and that's why you see people paying people to wear their stuff on shows. Why? Because they know people want to watch the show, and I like the show, and I'm constantly being bombarded by Nike.
That's right. Everywhere.
They're strategically doing it.
Before it was a point in time where they were like trying to hide the brands, but now it's like
blatantly. They used to hide it, and now they got it in your face. Like Dove soap, you would never see Dove soap. Like boxes said, the car they never show you the brand of the car.
Now they zoom up on it right before it pulls off.
It's a Porsche.
I
mean, so entertainment. We just don't realize how powerful entertainment is. And as people are minorities, we need to understand, because it's very detrimental to us, because a lot of people who don't look like us, entertainment is how they learn about us.
Yeah. People do not realize or understand that. And I think I learned that kind of more so in college when I went to Mansfield, got away.
College teaching.
You meeting people who've never really been in front of a black person before, or somebody from the city. And it's just kind of mind blowing that they have these notions that they picked up from TV, and they'll say it like, "Oh, I seen this on TV. I seen that on the news," or like, "Oh, I just heard," or like, "That's what just people say that." Like, but I've never seen it. Like, we live in a bubble. Everybody lives in this bubble, and it's just even ourselves included. Like, we can't even fathom or imagine sometimes that people don't understand just our culture sometimes, or just our way of being. But then it's really a group of people out there who don't understand. Like, they really don't understand, don't get it, don't care to, unless they had to encounter it. And like I said, I use the example of college because that was just kind of you blending cultures out there. Yeah.
So I do have this question, just because I'm kind of curious to see the differences in between these shows, when we all grew up. So what would you say was the defining black TV show or movie when you were growing up?
I think it was a contrast. I think depending upon how you were raised. For instance, the Cosby's versus Good Times. Mm-hmm. There were some people who gravitated to the Cosby's, and there's some people, black people, who didn't believe the Cosby's could be real. That you're not going to have a doctor and a lawyer, and the kids don't do anything too crazy but while they live in a nice house, and and they speak the basic language. So, and then some people relate to Good Times. For me, when I watch Good Times, to me, nothing good ever happened to them. Every week something bad happened, and when something good happened, it turned into something bad. It was a sense of hopelessness when I watched Good Times, because it was like they were never going to get out. So that was one show I think that really those two shows that kind of depicted interest. I think growing up watching the Shaft movies, Cleopatra Jones, because Black Power, those things were had an impact on me. I could go down a list of movies I think that I watch. If I fast forward, you remember when you were little, I had the Nat Turner show. Mm-hmm. So when Birth of a Nation came out, It was like, wow, they're actually telling the story of somebody who didn't lay down and fall and was educated, and understood certain things. Unfortunately, was a sense of black betrayal in that movie too. But, so that was an impactful movie. Just watching some of the comedians morph, a guy like Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, watching those guys, man, it was kind of amazing. I wasn't, and then I wasn't saved, so the language didn't bother me, but it was kind of amazing watching them because they drew all different races of people. You know what I mean? They movies drew all different races of people. It was like when you saw Shaft, and those movies were predominantly African American, but when you saw movies with with Richard Pryor or Red Fox or the comedy kind of movies, they drew all kind of people. It was like, wow, comedy does unite. And so that kind of impacts me. There's one movie, and I can't think of the name of it. I want to say it's oh man, it's not Look Who's Talking. I don't know. It's a movie with Don Cheadle in it, and Don Cheadle played this radio guy. It's a true story.
Talk to
Petey. Yeah, Talk to him. That movie, probably not seen by a lot, but that movie had a huge impact on me.
It was a great movie
because that movie. I was like, wow, man. We all think we gotta, these grandiose beginnings. The dude came out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to carve a niche in the world with somebody who later became his friend,
right,
who thought he was a despicable black person. And then the fact that being himself, he was able to captivate a nation. Like when the assassination came, he had to go on the air and call him. So that stuff is amazing. There's movies again. When I watch, y'all make fun of it, but the life story of James Brown. To think how James Brown catalog, he was the first guy to own his own catalog.
I mean,
not Cadillac.
I don't make fun of the movie.
It's just don't.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
You make fun of some of James Brown habits.
I think those movies to me, man, were like, man, they were older movies that really had an impact because they showed black people,
in a positive light.
But it showed the strength of black people. It wasn't like they born with a silver spoon. No, they had to fight for what they got, and not only did it show the strength of them, but it also showed that it didn't make them bitter.
I like what you said about showing the strength of black people, because I feel
did.
like that's where we're probably like lost at this point in entertainment. Honestly, I'm like even just trying to think like of a movie that kind of did that or like harnessed that, but it's always like I hate to say it, like almost like the white savior or this some other trope coming in and saving and showing us the way.
But I mean, like, it's funny because your mom's a big Star Trek fan, and she likes the Terminator. She like my mom was too. So I kind of ironic how they kind of had the same thing. They were entertaining to me, but I was the guy that saw the movies and I saw the bad side of it. The bad. There's no black people in the future, or they deform.
I was about to say they
the Martians. And when I saw it, and that's probably because at that time I was into Malcolm X. I was never a Muslim. I've always been a Christian, but I was into Malcolm X because I liked what he stood for, and I say it now. He was willing to die for what he believed, and you can tell me what everybody wants. And he did see the light at the end. He came at the end. But also, just when I'm watching those movies, Terminator, the only black person in the movie he created something that destroyed the world. And he died. Yeah. If you go look at Star Trek, one of the long running black characters, he betrayed him. He was a traitor. Tyler Perry came in for his little thing at the end. Your only decent person on Star Trek was a whore. Every other black person that got killed when they went down, like if they were beaming down the black guy was in, we ain't coming back. It didn't take much for you to figure out who's not coming back. Who ain't coming back. But then if you look at Jordy, he was blind. Worf got a butt head. And no, I'm just so to me. That's how I saw those movies. I never saw me in those movies, so I watched it. I wasn't never really, and like your mom likes John Wick, and John Wick is very strategic about integrating black people into the movie. Yeah. You had the one guy that worked the hotel, and then you had Common, but they both died.
But everybody is nowadays.
The one who's surviving is Lawrence Fishburne. There's a conversation that I watch with Lawrence Fishburne and LeVar Burton, and it's very enlightening. And LeVar Burton talk about he has his chain for roots. He has them above his Oscars. So Lawrence Fishburne's like, I don't get it. And he said the reason why he had him because they remind him, that even when we think we're free, we're still not free. And he talked about how people who don't look like us embraced him when he was, when he said he was a slave, didn't beat, they embraced him when he was on a starship, on their favorite starship. They embraced him when he was reading to their kids. But he said the one time he took a stand and he used the word F-U-C-K, everybody turned against him. That one word. And he said, and we talked about in the job sense, and I think a lot of us fall into that mindset that we have all this autonomy to do all these things and we're free. In reality, just don't go too far. Just don't go too far. And it's an interesting conversation because this is a guy who's very intelligent, who won all kind of, he's been around.
Yeah.
He's been around.
And I think that's also something that's always kind of been around with Black entertainment is one, the types of roles that we can get and like making sure that you don't get ahead too far. Like, for example, I know I was doing some research. Hattie McDaniel, one of the first, African American in general.
You know the story about John Wayne with that?
No.
See, and it's funny, I was thinking about that because they had to hold him back because he wanted to get her off the stage. Because Black people weren't supposed to be there. They literally had to hold him back so he wouldn't go out there and snatch her off the stage because that's how much he disdained Black people. Who watched those movies? Black folk.
And like, was Hattie McDaniel, what she was in Gone with the Wind?
Yeah.
Like that's what she won the Oscar for playing the role as Mammy. And that's another thing too, the types of roles that she had to play, kind of that Mammy role that people weren't necessarily too happy or proud about.
But even Denzel Washington, when he got his Oscar for Training Day, it's like you got to play a crooked cop.
Yeah.
To do that when you you did Malcolm X.
But then even after you win, when she went to the awards, they couldn't let her sit with anybody. Like she still had to sit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
By herself.
Yeah.
So it's like
because you did. But see, that's the age. This is the thing about Black entertainment. And it's funny because most movies in Black entertainment, always depicted the positive side of us. It did. Even the ones who were doing some crazy stuff, they showed some good characteristics. There wasn't a whole lot of movies, that depicted, kill, destroy. It wasn't. It was some parts in there where they talked about racism and they took a stand on how they felt, but that's the difference because a lot of movies who from different races always depicted us as the crazy people. We weren't depicted in a positive light. And one thing that those movies did back then was allow people to see us in a positive light. Yeah. What the Cosbys did was open people's eyes to another part of America. That there are African Americans out there, people of color, who are successful, who kids do go to college. Who kids are not out there rape, killing, and they do go to good schools and live in good neighborhoods. They don't tear up the house when they live there, so that kind of fed something and it kind of opened our eyes to some people. And then you had some people who through a good time depicted us.
But see, I think that kind of goes to the point you were saying earlier about how, what people want to see.
Yeah.
And like nobody would probably want to see a Cosby type thing. But I really do think it is. Like you hear people online sometimes that they tired of seeing the same old stuff.
I think something like that would sell. But again, it goes back to what I said. Who's going to have the courage to invest that kind of money, not knowing, that you have a market for it?
And I think you could do a Family Matters today. I think that could really work.
Yeah.
You could probably do a couple of those types of shows today. But like you said, it's just, I think there's this notion out there that
courage and creativity.
That people don't want to see it. But I don't think that's the case at all. It's like, think about, for instance, for anime. Like it's a Black anime coming out. Like
they know that
people have been investing in that. Like that's something that people didn't think it was a market for it, but like it's interesting
because somebody posted a clip from Love Jones when Lauren Tate and
people want to see that again.
They're having a conversation and people are like, okay, how real is this? And it was a conversation that would still be pertinent today. The scene where she's in New York and he's there and she says, well, why we got to talk about it now? And he says a profound line because now is all I got. He was like, yo, now is all I'm concerned about. But you don't have, how many movies we've riveting scenes when, like, I'll be back is a classic line. Yeah, I'm just saying, when Fences came in the movies, people didn't flock to see that. When it was on Broadway, it was a huge hit. James Earl Jones, when it came to the movies, Denzel Washington, it didn't have the same impact. I don't know if you're familiar with the Soldier Story. The Soldier Story did very well.
Soldier Story?
Yeah, the Soldier Story did very well. It was at a time where, it was about the Black troops, and it was a real good movie. Murder, all that stuff. Murder. Yeah, because but it portrayed most of the Blacks in a positive light. So that there's movies out there, man, that made a statement. Tuskegee Airmen. A lot of people didn't realize that we had black pilots, man. We were the best pilots in the in the service. They never lost a plane, and then to the movie. But then again, that was another movie that people didn't rush to see.
But you want to know what's crazy though? Like even in all the movies that we talk about, they always take place in the older time. Like we used to talk about Remember the Titans and
I was going to say Black Klansman,
like Black Klansman,
or like Black Messiah.
We have no, I would say, current movies that I feel like have like a positive spin or outlook or approach or anything. Like even just thinking about that, I was like, man, we named a lot of movies that take place about older stuff.
I did. I never saw it. So when you said, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I never saw it. I heard of both of them. You know, I regret not seeing the Black Messiah. I kept on why I didn't want to see it.
Great movie. Oh my goodness. Yeah, great movie. But of course, they had a black man portraying, you know.
Yeah, but I think
you can't have a movie without that.
But I think part of it is we don't understand the power of entertainment. I think for some reason we don't get it, the power of images. You know, the way they see us on the news, the way they see us in in sports. You know, so it does matter, but we just don't see it that way. You know, for some reason, and to your point, movies that come out with substance, we don't go see. Now we'll go see some crazy movie. We'll stand in line see a crazy movie, but let a movie come out, I can't even recall. I love Coming to America. It was, even though it was kind of funny and crazy, but Coming to America was one of the first movies that depicted Africa in a positive light. Then they have them run around there in loincloths, throwing spears, and the white man come in and save him like Tarzan. It didn't have that. It showed Africa in a positive light. Black Panther was a powerful movie. It was a powerful movie because Wakanda. We know it's not
a black movie because it's Marvel.
We know it's not a real place, but it represented, for people who understood Africa and the riches in the continent. It represented, it was close to what Africa is. How they came in and took all the resources, and they had stuff that nobody had. The pyramids and things like that. Hey, Wayne, what's up? Those things were things that we had in Africa that, they still can't duplicate. Medicine, all that stuff came from people of color. So Wakanda was like, hey, but to your point, there's not a lot of movies, man. And you got a point there. Can we say it's a black movie because Marvel, but it was based on a black place.
We just said that was a fake place.
Yeah, but when people who know their history can relate to it because that's how Africa was when Caucasians discovered it. They came in, they took the riches, they took the diamonds, they took the gold. Yeah, they got the resources out of it, and they had resources nobody else had. So it was kind of a similarity there. But I do think it's about money now. Some of the stuff I see makes no sense.
Yeah, but
like, who wants to see a movie about Teddy Ruxpin? The real Teddy Ruxpin wasn't that funny. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, you had one. So
don't recall.
So yeah, to my point, they made a movie about that. And I'm talking about being desperate. And you talk about Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans was kind of a risky movie.
It was?
Yeah, because you got certain people. America is just like Birth of the Nation. America's still not ready for those movies, man. Movies that reveal the dark side of what happened in this country. That's why they're taking out of textbooks. That's why they're taking those books out of school, man. America's not ready to deal with that. That's the other side of entertainment. When entertainment starts telling stuff about life, it gets tricky. It gets real tricky.
Like the basketball movie, what is it, Glory Road?
Yeah.
When they started.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a real tough one. I mean that.
Yeah, and people didn't flock to see that. And it's a true story.
That was a good movie too.
It's a true story. Yeah, it's a true story.
But the reason why I asked that, because I kind of want to compare and contrast like the different shows of like what we grew up with and what's the difference between now and then. Because for me growing up, I remember like the shows that were like really prevalent in my life. You had the Bernie Mac show. You also had My Wife and Kids, and you had Everybody Hates Chris. But I'll say like the common denominator
family shows.
They were, but they always kind of depicted a lot of yelling, if that makes sense. Like kind of chastised, like the mom was chastising Chris. You had the dad chastising his son Junior. Yeah, you had Uncle Bernie, R.I.P. But he was criticizing Jordan and criticizing all that.
But it was all from a good place that I felt like. He definitely was tough.
It's funny because I didn't watch the show when it first came out, but as I watched the reruns, I could appreciate the Bernie Mac show because,
He was stepping up. One wasn't his kids.
and he was learning how to be a dad on the job.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and he was very open and transparent about it. You know, it wasn't like I'm gonna write a book on being parenting. He did. He made some mistakes, but he did some good stuff. You know, and he made it honestly. You know, so and he didn't lose himself. He didn't start acting a certain way. He was Bernie Mac. You know, so I think I could relate to that. You know, everybody hates Chris. I thought it was a stereotypical family. The mom is really in charge. Dad just worked, don't say much. Mom's a loud one, and that's not. I think it's stereotypical, man. It's not the average, but that's what's put out there. So I mean,
he worked 5 jobs all the time.
But it was entertainment.
Yeah.
He never spoke. When he spoke, he was wise, but he just hardly ever spoke. I think I didn't like My Wife and Kids because all he did was just belittle his son Junior. That was like his national pastime. And every chance he got.
Junior was dumb.
Yeah, but even as a dad, as a black male, I think we have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
We have to be careful with that because it just depicts us. It's not a Caucasian person can play a role and not be stigmatized. When a black person plays a role, more times than not, people look at that and think that's the way it is in the black community.
Or even that's him. Like they
think
that's how he is.
And that's why Denzel Washington Training Day, because he was trying to break the stereotype. That he could only be cast in certain things. But you got to remember, Denzel Washington is one of those rare people who can pick his own movies now.
Yeah.
Everybody can't do that. And I think that's another part. I get paid. And you lie to yourself so people can depict the difference between movie and reality, and a lot of people can't, and that's why people dress like what they see in the movies. People talk like what they see in the movies. The media sets the tone for slang, all that stuff. You get it out of movies. It comes from movies, man. And so for people who say it don't matter, it does matter.
Yeah. So I think one thing I wanted to make sure we get in tonight is just talking about some of the top, black movies or
what top?
Black, 20, and I'm going by Forbes. This is 2024 top 25 black movies of all time. And
2024.
This is done this year. This is based on this year, and this kind of proves my point to say too, like in terms of a lot of our black classics or the black good movies that we like to see or paint us in a positive light are all from a certain time era. It's not really, you're not going to see too much based off of something that's going on
already. You're 25 and number 1.
I know number 25. Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee.
I mean, and see, Do the Right Thing was before his time. Again,
Spike Lee,
1989. Spike Lee had the courage to do something different. He had to do something different, man. So I would put that on there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that was a movie when it was done. It was based off of kind of that time period.
It was. He captured his neighborhood.
Yes, and that's again goes to the point I'm saying. We don't have much like that right now that captures our neighborhood kind of in a positive light.
Superfly, I mentioned that one.
12 Years a Slave, number 24.
Oh, I don't see, but that movie, it's another movie that didn't get a lot of play, but I thought it was an excellent movie. I liked the movie because it
in 2013.
I think the reason why is because people are tired of seeing slaves. Like I'm tired of seeing myself slaves.
Yeah, but it was more to the movie than that. And what other movie did you see itself slavery? I mean, other than we just talked about Birth of a Nation, but that was 2016.
Glory.
But see, Glory wasn't just about slaves; it was about a group of soldiers who got a chance to fight for their team and ended up being the best. They ended up being the best.
Number 23, Boys in the Hood, 1991.
John Singleton. That movie was a classic.
Yes.
And the movie was a classic because it showed that the young black man, a young black boy, can make good decisions. And he was raised by a single dad, and it was a positive situation.
Yeah.
So it was a good movie.
That's a classic. That's a good movie. I can agree with that. Like that one to me was like really just that was telling the story.
I can't believe that.
Listen, but that was telling the story. Like that looking inside that neighborhood and what that young man was going through. But number 22.
Yeah, I don't know.
And this is where again black movies. Set It Off, 1996.
Black women. Angry black women at the highest level.
Queen Latifah
Angry black women at the highest level.
21 Moonlight, 2016. Didn't watch it.
Yeah, I've heard of that movie.
But I did hear
I heard about
that it was pretty good. Number 20, Black Panther.
So I can't believe that
is
number 20.
Number 20? You want it to be higher?
Yeah, because Black Panther. Black Panther. There's very few movies that come out and they start a trend, and it started a trend. People actually were talking about what kind of like was it.
Everybody
walking around. It started the trend, man. And even now, I mean, when he died, people were mourning like they knew him.
Yeah, dressing up.
Yeah, you know, what I mean, it was a trendsetter, and every movie doesn't accomplish that. So,
so I would say that is kind of low. Like they could be higher. Barbershop, number 19. 2002.
Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is number 1.
Number one. It was a spin-off of Beauty Song.
The first one was good.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, Barbershop was a movie that captured the old school barbershop. Yeah. Where the conversation was meaningful, you had the characters in there. You know, so I could see Barbershop there.
Number 18. Poetic Justice. Janet Jackson. Yep, 1983. That's another cultural one. I guess.
I think, but what that movie managed to capture was you got this Janet Jackson, who was this R&B pop star, versus this clean cut R&B pop star with Tupac, who was like thug of the world. But he was a brilliant dude.
Yeah, he was.
People got so caught up in his image that they didn't really listen to some things he said.
Yeah. He was a poet.
Yeah. I named it. I called it 17. Coming to America. Now, I would like to know why it's on the list. Is it on the list because of the comedy and the star power, or is it on the list because, to me, like I said, it showed people Africa in a different light? It's probably only because of the comedy.
I was about to say, it ain't gonna be because of the Africa part. It's probably because of the comedy. It's just the comedy, the story. It was a great story, entertaining.
Waiting to Exhale.
McDowell's, that was probably one of my favorites. Number 16, Waiting to Exhale, 1995.
Classic chick movie.
Yes.
But it was good.
Number 15, The Color Purple, 1985.
Let's say again, how was that 15? Huh? See, that was like an iconic movie, man. I mean, how was that 15?
You're a fan?
I liked it. I didn't, but I mean, again, very seldom you get a movie, man, that becomes cultural, that passes through generations, and that was one of those movies.
Yeah.
Everybody.
That's the only part. That's the only part that people
terrible, man. That's terrible.
But that's what's important.
Hey, higher learning.
Number 14, Dream Girls. Dream Girls.
That was a good movie.
Dream Girls is good, man.
Yeah, but see, Dream Girls should be first. Dream Girls should be low. Come on, Dream Girls is not.
This is one of my favorites here, right?
Hold on, back up. Dream Girls is really probably about the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. And Cadillac Records better not be on there.
Number 13, one of my favorites, Django.
I did not like that movie, man.
What?
I didn't like that movie.
Django is a classic.
Classic what? It's a classic movie that sell out Uncle Tom.
It's Candyland. What? Django.
Why? Did you like it because he was rebelling and just killing everybody?
Yes. It's a great action movie.
I'm sitting here with $2
coming back to save his lady.
Help me, somebody.
Like, what?
Go ahead, all right.
Django vs. Candyland all day. Number 12, Till. About Emmett Till.
I didn't see that movie.
And I also think I didn't see the movie, but I think it should be higher.
You think it should be? That's
because I think that's
the relevant story.
But see, the problem is it didn't get a lot of people. A lot of people didn't go see it. It wasn't a box office smash. And again, I think because this generation is not ready for those type of movies. For one, because they stupid. Because you always, if I lived back here, I would do this. What you want? You're in the same category. But I think too, so they just don't want to be exposed to it, man.
I mean, the same thing actually happens today. It just looks different.
But that's why you don't look at the movie, because the movie reminds you that, man. There's black people who don't think it's racism. There's black people who think, everything is still equal, and it's not. But I think that's a movie because it told the story, and it told the dark side of America. It told the side of America that they're constantly trying to hide.
I feel like people don't realize it really was. When you look at the larger picture of things, it really wasn't that long ago.
No.
She just passed not that long ago.
But it's easy for people to put stuff in the past, and things like that, because it makes them feel better. But the problem with it is, I think you need to know the bad parts of your history, because that's how you grow. Napoleon Hill said it best: people don't know their history, they didn't repeat it. You just blew past your favorite movie, man.
I've been waiting. I was waiting to see what's next after that.
I see Creed is.
Number 11, Creed 2.
My question is, what's the criteria for placing these movies? Because you can't tell me Creed 2 is above The Color Purple.
I think they're doing box office.
Yeah, come on, man.
It gotta be.
Part of it is the money. I think part of it.
Yeah, you can't tell me it's above the. I mean, it was a great fantasy movie. It was a great fantasy movie.
Forbes. It's probably like one of us in the room going through.
IMDb got a better list.
Like number 10, Descendants. Number 9, King Richard. There's
Good
a good
movie.
one.
Another good movie.
I can see that now.
8, Black Klansman.
That been called.
Okay, you should watch it. Then.
Number 7, Soul Food.
Again, is it there because of the star power, or is it there because of content?
I think somebody just pulled this one out because it's a cultural relevant movie for us. It's a staple. People always kind of talk
I
about it.
don't think it was that good.
And that's probably something
Right,
people might
go
want
ahead.
to debate you
Go
on.
ahead.
I think sometimes when movies like kind of years later pass, people give it a little bit more credit than it should have.
I'm looking at number 6. This had to be
Number
my box
6,
office draw. This had to be
Love
my
and
box office.
Basketball.
Come on,
People
man.
still watch that movie and talk
I'm
about that.
not-
They both went to college.
I'm not
Successful
disagreeing, but number
Is it?
6.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
that's a top 10
That's
movie.
like voting for Casper the Ghost.
I think it's a top 10 movie. That like in our, I think that's
What,
a top
6?
10. It's top 10. Malcolm X is number 5.
Now, come on, Malcolm X should be higher than number 5. Malcolm X, come on, man.
Let's see what's up. Selma, number 4.
Yeah, that's about right.
See what I'm saying? Let's
Yeah,
see.
all right.
Amistad, number 3.
Not 3, but I like it. Top 10.
Is
I
it
wouldn't
top
kick it-
5?
I wouldn't kick it out. Yeah.
It's top 5.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
See,
yeah.
Dear
Number
White
2, yeah,
People.
come on.
I think this one is
That's
Should
the
not
one.
be
Like,
there.
come on.
like this is the one that
That's what I mean. It shouldn't be there.
That's
So I
it.
mean, it shouldn't be there. I mean,
That definitely is
all those movies are, and see, those movies are based on true stories.
And that's how you know it was a lot of white people in
Yeah,
that room.
and those stories were teaching you your history. I remember being in a room with somebody very educated, and I was telling the kids about Amistad, and they, oh, that's not real. You know, that's not real, because they never knew that we black people were sailors, man. That we had all this great stuff in our history. You know, like nobody knows the Moors. When Shakespeare talks about the Moors, the Moors were some of the fiercest black warriors out there.
And this is the last one on Forbes. I see the questions rolling in. Who numbered these? Blame Forbes. The Help is number 1. The Help is the number 1 black movie, according to Forbes, not us.
See, yeah,
You can
that's
debate that. We
box
can talk about this later. But I don't know what the criteria. They need to put that in the notes. Like this is the
The Help was
criteria.
an okay movie, but the big number 1 all time, come on.
Like yeah,
You want to hear this top 10?
movies on this list.
Yeah, I
like,
wanna
like,
hear top
the
10.
highest grossing black.
But I got
film
movies
of
that I
all
will put on that list that's not there. But go
time.
ahead.
Cultural
What you got?
resets.
All right, so this is IMDb.
IMDb.
They went way farther back, if I'm being honest, because I've never heard of this movie. A Raisin in the Sun.
What?
Number
It's a
10.
play.
It's a classic movie. It's a book, man. Come on, man.
We had to read that at school.
Matter of
See,
fact,
we didn't have to read that.
they redid it because Diddy played it. I guess I shouldn't be saying his name now,
Who
but
did
I shouldn't be saying now. It was in a movie. They redid it. It was a movie. They redid it. It's a classic. It's a book. The book was a bestseller. It's an icon. Come on, what's that?
9. The Great White Hope.
1970.
But see, but you know, I'm gonna tell you, because Jim Jones was married to a white woman, and he had to go overseas. He had to go to Europe to be successful. Because he
The
married Jim
boxer.
Johnson. I'm sorry, Jim Johnson, because he's married to So I wouldn't put it that high, but it's one of those
Really?
movies that's about history.
Black Boxer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
He's
I think I've
knocking
seen
people
it.
out.
Yeah.
Talk about trash.
Before Ali was him,
I see that.
Mhm.
and then when James Earl Jones played him, so that even made it more of an iconic movie.
Number 8. A Time to Kill.
You know about that one?
I don't know that. I see
Okay.
Matthew McConaughey and Sandra
1996.
Bullock.
And Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel Jackson. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a black movie?
No.
They said Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson.
No. it was the movie was filmed in the South, and he was falsely accused of something. And Matthew McConaughey was the only one that would represent him. He was white, so and people would threaten him and stuff like that. Yeah, so I wouldn't call it a black movie. It's a movie about somebody that's possibly going to be lynched. That's why it's a black movie.
Are they gonna have Green Mile on her next? What's that?
It might be. You know.
That's my movie, yeah, but it ain't a black movie. Go ahead.
7. In the Heat of the Night.
Yeah, it's a series now, and that's because my man.
Sidney
was
Poitier.
That's right, and Carol O'Connor.
Mm.
So it was two classic. It was two classic people who played in that movie, man. Yeah, it was, and the series now, it was classic that time because Sidney Poitier was an East Coast cop who went down south to become a cop, man. And
There's some older movies that I want to watch.
Yeah.
Like to.
I don't know what's worse is that I know these movies are on the list.
No, I'm actually I'm impressed, and I'm like
Yo.
actually enjoying you to be like. As soon as we do a little, actually that movie, blah 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 blah. I'm like, man, quick recap with that.
All right. Number 6. City of God. This looks like a lot of In the slums of Rio, so I don't know
Didn't see it
anybody.
because of the title.
I don't know what they better. Number 5, sometimes in April.
Didn't see it. Don't never heard.
2005.
Yeah, that was 2005. Actually. Oh, we definitely seen this one. Number
Hotel
4,
Rwanda.
Hotel Rwanda.
That should have been like in the top 5.
That was a great movie.
It is top 5.
And this one
That
on
should be.
IMDb, yeah.
That should have. Why that wasn't on this list? That was a great
Yeah,
movie.
that was
These
an
ones are
awesome movie.
more.
I mean, maybe
That was
because
awesome.
I guess they're saying
And Don Cheadle was
they're
good.
talking about American black versus
And-
African
But
black.
Don Cheadle was
Black
good.
Iron Man.
That was a great
But go ahead.
movie.
What's number 3?
Number 3 is Glory. Actually,
So you talked it up.
that's a
Glory,
good movie. I don't know.
Yeah. But the history, man. You know, black people. You know.
top 3.
Oh, number 2. Oh, Malcolm X.
I want to know who number 1 is. Malcolm X is number 2. I got to know who number
Do the right thing is number 1.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me. Do the right thing over Malcolm X? Come on, man.
Hey,
Pookie,
hey.
what's his name? Whatever his name was. Come on, man.
Listen, the lists I feel like are kind of far off.
Yeah,
Way
comparison
off.
between
Way
words
off.
and that. And then I think that also kind of is like, are we? What's actually black film, black entertainment?
But I think your Forbes list was probably. I think you're correct. I think Forbes list was probably based on
Money.
the economics.
Mhm.
I think Devin's list was probably based on depth. People looked at the movie and said they looked at it. And,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. The number 11, which Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. That should probably be higher.
Guess who's coming
the
to
Sidney
dinner?
48 original
Yeah.
one.
I thought
Yeah.
she was talking about with
Bernie Mac.
Bernie
Nah,
Mac
nah.
and Ashton
Ashton
Kutcher.
Kutcher.
I was like,
original,
yo, you're
But
crazy.
see, but see, then again, it's not a black movie because I thought it's only like 3 black people in that movie.
He the main character.
Yeah, he was, but he was an icon because often he played in movies in traditional roles that were traditional.
So that's actually a good question. Like, what do
It
we
was.
constitute as a black movie? Is it
See, if I
all
have black
black
movies,
characters?
a majority black cast, I think so. You know, that's like saying you're integrated and you got 1 black person. Are you really integrated? Come on.
I am
That's what
Legend.
these companies say.
I Am
Yeah,
Legend.
I
It's a black movie.
No, Sidney Poitier himself was a guy who it was him and Harry Belafonte. They broke the mold because they broke the mold of shucking and jive, and then, you know, they were talented and they were conscious of what was going on in America socially. You know, they were different. And Sidney Poitier was just always class. You know, he was. You know, now part of it was because he was a sick Negro too, because he was all the way he acted and stuff. You know, but yeah.
I mean, that was important to get other people
It
on,
was,
you know?
but that's how he became who he is, and he's one of the greatest of all time. Man. Him and Barry Phillip, him and Harry Belafonte was like, man.
Denzel's next. That's my guy.
And Malcolm X to me should have been higher because I think Malcolm X was one. He played that role. He played the role.
And then when you hear some of the
Yeah.
things that he's done behind the scenes, or like the ad libs, or just going the extra mile, or like really bringing the character to life, and how he's been able to do that across so many different types of characters. That's why I just feel like he's.
Let me ask you this: how do y'all feel about the movie The Pursuit of Happiness?
I mean,
Technically,
is that a black movie?
Technically, it was a majority.
Majority. It was him and his son.
His wife was black.
But no, that movie was okay.
His wife rolled on him.
And she did.
Yeah, she did.
But I feel like that movie was okay.
He made out the mud though.
I actually enjoyed that movie. That's probably on my list of movies that I like. Tearjerker when he was in that bathroom. He's pretending like it was a cave. I was like, oh my god.
He had the
I like the movie. I did. I like the movie. And the reason why I liked the movie was because, again, it showed somebody overcoming. You know, it wasn't somebody whose wife left him, man, and he just gave up on life and dropped the kid off at so and so went out. You know, he did what he had to do.
Grinding.
He did what he had to do, man. I thought it was good, but I don't know if I'm put that. I don't know. I need to see. I need to
He was
compile my own
grinding
top
for
10
something
list.
great.
Yeah, we need to make our own.
He
list.
got-
You know what? We
To
should make
serve-
our own
To
list.
serve with love. See, he know these classic movies.
And I'm
like To Serve
interested
with
to
Love.
hear what
Excellent.
people that watch have to say as well.
Yeah.
Give us your top 3, top 5. I think we should come up with a list. and
Because
shit.
like Black Panther to me has to be on it because it's a movie that impacted the culture.
Mm.
You know, it's a movie that 20 years from now you can still watch that movie. You know, to me, movies like some of the movies on Devin's list, even though they're great, nobody's gonna sit down and watch The Great White Hope.
No,
They're just not. You know,
that's what I was just saying. I want to go back and
Friday
watch.
though.
you know,
Top 25.
you know,
Friday made it. Hustle and flow.
Harlem Nights had, you know, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, had a bunch, you know, Della Reese, a bunch of English stars in it. It wasn't a great movie, but it had a lot of icons in it. It had a lot of icons in it, man. There's watching Claudine. I'm surprised wasn't on as a classic. Claudine is a movie with Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones, and it's one of the first movies that tackled the whole welfare thing because she was on welfare. She was struggling with the family. She met him. He was a trash man, and back then you couldn't have a man living with you. Because you would lose your welfare benefits. So he kind of had to hide and do different things. They had to sneak around and carry on. I'm gonna tell you a movie that I'm surprised is not on it either, and I can't think of the name. What was the Christmas movie with Chris Brown and those guys?
Was it this Christmas?
Yeah,
right.
No, that was a good movie, and I'm surprised the series on there. What's the one where
It's not making my top 25.
Where the guy with what's the one with Chestnut is a foot Lawrence?
Oh, Best Man.
Best Man.
Yeah, Best
That
Man.
is on here actually, but it's a little lower down. It's like,
Yeah, but why? It's just what I'm saying. I look at some of the movies. Come on,
That's
man.
a good one.
yeah,
And that should have made both lists because it made money, and it was a good movie. It's
The
a
Wood
black
was a
movie.
good movie.
Yeah, The Wood. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
nah, that
so
was-
yeah, but The Wood was another movie that just didn't make a lot of money. People didn't run out to see it. Now, I remember the false advertising because I remember somebody speaking out of turn. Oh, they made a movie about The Wood, and they was talking about like it was really about a sexual part, and it wasn't. So I think people heard the title and just really misunderstood it, and it just never took off. But it was a real good movie.
Yeah.
It was a real good movie.
So I think I'm excited for us to maybe make a top 5, bring it back together, see what we come up with, where we land at.
We should definitely do that. That's
Yes.
Yeah, I think but I think one thing I say about all the movies we talked about, it actually depicted the change in entertainment, black entertainment. It covered it. So when it was
And it is so kind of generational, the different things.
yeah. Because we talked about, we went from the strength that it showed the black people, man, able to overcome, do things. We threw some comedy in there, to part of it, like teaching a little bit about history. I think that's important.
Yeah. I feel like we had a great conversation here tonight, tackled and talked about a lot of different things. I feel like we kind of went through the timeline of like when it first started, entertainment, until where we are today. And I did think it was kind of interesting to go through these lists and just see, what people are saying, quote unquote, in some of these forums about what is quote unquote like just the top black movies. I think it's certainly different in our circles and conversations than what we can see online.
It is.
So,
but I think those lists were way off base.
Yeah.
I think those lists were, to your point,
they don't get it.
Was a bunch of people in the room and you asked them what their opinion was. Because there's some some of the movies that we named, or like The Best Man is a classic. The movie's gonna come out every year forever. I mean, and it never gets old. And I guess that's why they you put Love and Basketball on there before that. And I enjoy Love and Basketball, but it wasn't.
Love and Basketball was definitely like a cool classic thing.
Unpopular opinion, Insecure should be higher.
The TV show?
Yeah.
We talking about movies though, but that's entertainment. I think that's
entertainment.
Okay. Yeah.
The name itself tells me it shouldn't be higher.
Nah, but it did a good job. It's an all black cast.
Coach Brevin, great show.
They did a great job of explaining what a lot of black women go through. Yeah, it's a
good show. Great
It's
show.
a really great show.
I haven't seen it.
Inspirational.
I've had the fact that.
But no, I think we had a great show tonight. It was great to be back. Enjoyed it being big with family on set. Make sure tap in as always. We're here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us.
Glad to have you back,
What's the
Wayne.
topic
Man, we
next
miss
week
you,
so we
man.
can let them know?
That's what it said.
We do.
I did.
Chris wanted to talk about nepotism.
Nepotism.
Especially as it returns to Bronny James. I have very strong.
Yeah,
I got very strong.
because he going through the ringer a little bit, and I've been like hearing stories, seeing things. Yeah, it's just unfair for him. But let's talk about that next week, guys. See you. Have a great rest of the week.
See you guys later, man. Peace.
I'm all for the nepotism. Sneak peek.
Turn it off. You ever knew? See, the thing about it is,
You're going to get the most money.